The signal from beyond. Deep space archaeologist Raven Blackwood stared at the pulsing signal on her ship's scanner, a frown creasing her weathered features. After 15 years of searching dead worlds and ancient ruins, she had never seen anything like this. The signal didn't match any known pattern in her database, and its source seemed to shift every few minutes, as if it couldn't decide where it wanted to be. "Nexus, run another analysis," she commanded her ship's eye. "Something about this doesn't add up." Analysis complete, Nexus responded in its characteristic calm tone. "Signal contains embedded quantum signatures consistent with precursor technology. Warning: signal strength increasing by 12% every hour." Raven's hands tightened on the controls of her research vessel, the Starweaver. The precursors were supposed to be extinct, wiped out in a cataclysmic event over 10,000 years ago. Their artifacts were worth fortunes to collectors and research institutions alike, but this was different. This was active technology. She plotted a course toward the signal's epicenter, watching as strange energy patterns danced across her instruments. The Starweaver moved smoothly through the star-studded void, its advanced engines barely making a sound. As they drew closer, Raven noticed something odd about the surrounding space. Tiny flickers of light that shouldn't be there, like reality itself was having hiccups. "Nexus, full sensor sweep of the anomaly," she ordered, bringing up multiple holographic displays around her pilot's chair. "And get me a secure channel to the Galactic Heritage Office." Before Nexus could comply, a massive surge of energy erupted from the anomaly. Raven's displays went crazy, showing readings that defied physics. The Starweaver shuddered as if caught in a storm, its hull groaning under impossible pressures. "Emergency protocols engaged," Nexus announced, its voice taking on an urgent edge. Unknown force attempting to establish quantum entanglement with ship's systems. Raven's fingers flew across the controls, trying to break free of whatever had caught them. "Redirect power to the quantum shields. We need to." She never finished the sentence. A blast of purple-white light filled the bridge, and Raven felt reality twist around her. When her vision cleared, the Starweaver was somewhere else entirely, orbiting a massive structure that definitely hadn't been there before. The structure looked like a cross between a space station and a sculpture, all sweeping curves and impossible angles. Its surface rippled with the same energy that had captured her ship, and at its center, a massive aperture slowly opened like an awakening eye. "Nexus, are you still with me?" Raven asked, her throat dry. "Affirmative," the AI responded. "Though I detect numerous attempts to access my systems, the source appears to be directing queries at us." A new hologram materialized in front of Raven, showing streams of complex data. She recognized some symbols from her years of studying precursor artifacts, but these were different. Alive, changing, trying to communicate. "It's not just directing queries," Raven realized, her eyes widening. "It's asking for help." The structure's energy patterns shifted, and suddenly Raven's universal translator sparked to life. A voice filled the bridge, unlike anything she had ever heard. It seemed to speak directly into her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. "Seeker of knowledge." The voice resonated. "We have waited long for one who could hear our call. The great darkness approaches, and we cannot face it alone. Will you help us preserve what must not be lost?" Raven's heart raced as she considered the implications. This wasn't just another artifact hunt. This was first contact with a living precursor system, something that could rewrite everything humanity thought they knew about the ancient species. "I have questions first," she replied firmly, falling back on her scientific training. "Who are you? What darkness are you talking about?" The response came not in words, but in images that flooded her mind. Vast fleets of ships made from darkness itself, whole worlds going dark, and a hunger that threatened to devour reality itself. But there was something else too. A plan, a possibility, a chance to prevent it all from happening again. "Time grows short," the voice insisted. "Your species has shown remarkable potential. You build, you adapt, you survive against all odds. We offer an exchange. Help us, and we will share knowledge your people have sought for millennia. Raven looked at her sensor readings again, at the impossible structure before her, and at the dark space beyond. She had come looking for dead history, and instead found a living mystery that could change the future of humanity. Nexus, she said finally, begin recording everything. And send a coded message to Earth Command. Tell them. She took a deep breath. Tell them we're about to make history. The structure's eye-like aperture pulsed in response, and Raven felt the weight of destiny settling onto her shoulders. Whatever came next would change everything. She just hoped she was ready for it. Little did she know, on the other side of the galaxy, others had received the signal too. And not all of them had preservation in mind. Echoes of trust. The crystalline meditation chamber aboard the Eternal Seeker hummed with a frequency that would have driven most species mad. But for Zilith, last guardian of the Meerkath archives, it was the only sound that could calm her racing thoughts. Her four-fingered hand traced patterns in the air as she processed the signal that had disrupted her centuries-long vigil. Analysis complete. Guardian, her ship's consciousness, Echo, announced. The human vessel has made contact with the nexus point. Probability calculations suggest an 87% chance they will trigger the awakening protocols. Zilith's iridescent scales shifted from deep purple to a concerned blue. A human. The calculations predicted it would be the Dorsani who found it first. She rose from her meditation pose, her tall, lithe form moving with liquid grace despite her ancient age. Show me this human vessel. The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the vast structure of the nexus point in the distance. Near it, a small ship that looked almost primitive to her enhanced senses orbited cautiously. But there was something about its design that intrigued her. Adaptability built into every line. Solutions born of necessity rather than overwhelming technology. The human calls herself Raven Blackwood, Echo reported. She appears to be what they term an archaeologist, one who studies ancient civilizations. How fitting, Zilith murmured. Though she cannot know, she studies her own future as much as our past. She moved to the ship's control nexus, her long fingers dancing across surfaces that responded to thought as much as touch. Have the shadow ships detected our presence yet? Negative, Guardian. Our phase shift cloak remains effective. However, they are converging on this sector with increasing speed. Estimated time until their arrival: 14 standard hours. Zilith felt the weight of her responsibility pressed down upon her. For over 3,000 years, she had guarded the secret of the nexus points, watching civilizations rise and fall, waiting for the right moment and the right allies. The humans were young, reckless, beautiful in their determination to survive. But were they ready for the truth? Echo, prepare for contact protocol Sigma. We must reach them before the shadows do. The Eternal Seeker glided through space with impossible grace, its advanced systems making even the precursor technology of the nexus point seem primitive in comparison. As they drew closer to the human vessel, Zilith prepared herself for what would be only her fourth direct contact with another species in 3 millennia. Guardian, Echo interrupted her preparations. I'm detecting quantum fluctuations consistent with shadow ship emergence. They're ahead of predictions. We have less than 2 hours. Zilith's scales flashed silver with alarm. Open a direct channel to their ship's eye. We have no time for diplomatic niceties. The connection established instantly, and Zilith found herself face to face with a holographic representation of Raven Blackwood. The human's expression showed surprise but not fear. Interesting. I am Zilith, guardian of the Meerkath archives, she announced, her translator converting her harmonic speech into human standard. Your species knows us only through fragments and whispers. You call us precursors, but we are the Meerkath, and we need your help. Raven's eyes narrowed with scientific curiosity. The signal said something about a darkness coming. Are you connected to that? The signal speaks truth, but not all of it. What approaches is no mere darkness. It is the Void Collective, beings that exist to consume all knowledge and complexity from the universe. They have hunted my kind across eons, and now they hunt you, though you don't know it yet. Why us? Raven asked, her hand unconsciously moving to a pendant around her neck. Some kind of cultural token, Xylith noticed. Because your species has achieved something remarkable. You've developed along lines we never predicted. Your solutions to cosmic challenges are unique. The void fears what it cannot predict. A warning flashed across Xylith's consciousness as Echo detected more quantum disturbances. We have no time for further explanation now. The hunters approach. You must trust me. Dock with my vessel immediately. Trust a being I just met because they claim to be from an ancient civilization. Raven's laugh held no humor. That's a lot to ask. Xylith's scales rippled with urgency. Then trust your own instruments. Check your long-range sensors. The darkness comes. I can protect you, but only if you act now. She watched as Raven consulted with her ship's AI, saw the moment when the human's expression changed from skepticism to concern as she verified the approaching threat. Nexus confirms multiple anomalies approaching at FTL speeds, Raven reported. If you're lying, we're both about to find out. Initiating docking procedures. As the two ships merged their environmental systems, Xylith allowed herself a moment of hope. The humans were indeed different. They could balance skepticism with action, doubt with necessity. Perhaps the calculations weren't wrong after all, just limited in their understanding of human potential. Echo, begin knowledge transfer protocols, she commanded. Our new ally must understand what she faces, and why the fate of multiple civilizations now rests in her hands. The darkness approached, but for the first time in centuries, Xylith felt something she had almost forgotten. Anticipation. The game was about to change, and the hunters were about to learn what it meant to become the hunted. The ancient gateway. Raven stood in the heart of the eternal seeker, surrounded by technology that made her most advanced instruments look like children's toys. Holographic displays filled the air around her, showing star charts overlaid with patterns she could barely comprehend. But it wasn't the technology that held her attention. It was the story Xylith was telling. The nexus points were never meant to be weapons, the Guardian explained, her scales shifting through shades of green as she manipulated the displays. They were libraries, repositories of knowledge meant to guide younger species toward enlightenment. But the Void Collective corrupted their purpose. And now they're what? Information vampires? Raven asked, trying to process everything she was learning. The ship's AI, Echo, had been feeding her data for the past hour, and each new revelation was more staggering than the last. An apt metaphor, Xylith responded. They consume complexity itself. Art, culture, innovation, even consciousness. They reduce entire civilizations to their simplest components. We built the nexus points to preserve what would otherwise be lost. Nexus, Raven's AI, interfaced directly with Echo, their combined processing power working to analyze the approaching threat. Void ships will reach our position in approximately 43 minutes. Their energy signature suggests they can track us through standard phase shift. Xylith's scales darkened. Then we must reach the gateway before they arrive. Raven, your ship's quantum core. It's unlike anything in our database. How did your people develop it? We didn't, Raven admitted. I found it in ruins on a dead world called Terminus. Took me 3 years to integrate it with human tech, but it works. Usually. The Guardian's eyes widened. Terminus. That was one of our last outposts. The quantum core you found must be. Yes, that explains the resonance patterns. Echo. Recalibrate our shields to match the Starweaver's quantum frequency. The ship hummed as its systems realigned. Raven felt a subtle shift, like reality itself was bending around them. What are you doing? Creating a possibility, Xylith replied. The core you discovered wasn't just a power source. It was a key. One of many we scattered across the galaxy, hoping the right species would find them. Your integration of it with human technology created something new, something the Void cannot predict. The gateway protocols are active, Echo announced. But Guardian, the power requirements will leave us vulnerable. We have no choice, Xylith said. Raven, I need you to link your ship's systems with ours. The combination of our technologies might be our only chance. Raven hesitated only a moment before nodding. Nexus, begin integration sequence. Let's see what this gateway can do. The two ships merged their systems, human ingenuity combining with ancient wisdom in ways neither species had imagined possible. The nexus point before them began to pulse with new energy, its eye-like aperture widening. Multiple Void ships detected, Nexus reported. They're attempting to lock on with their null field projectors. Raven watched as dark shapes emerged from the quantum foam of space, ships that seemed to absorb both light and hope. They moved like predators, spreading out to surround the nexus point. Xylith, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Whatever you're planning, now would be a good time. The Guardian's hands danced across control surfaces as she spoke. The Void thinks they understand the gateway network, but they never grasped its true purpose. We didn't build it to fight them. We built it to evolve beyond them. Energy cascaded between the ships and the nexus point, forming patterns that hurt Raven's eyes to look at. The Void ships drew closer, their presence like a weight on her consciousness. Gateway synchronization at 90%, Echo reported. Void ships launching null-field torpedoes. Raven, Xylith called, her scales now glowing with brilliant light. I need you to trust me completely. What happens next will challenge everything you believe about reality. Pretty sure we passed that point when I met you, Raven replied, managing a grim smile. What do you need me to do? Your quantum core holds the key sequence, but it needs consciousness, human consciousness, to complete the pattern. You must interface directly with both ships. The process will be intense. The Void ships were nearly upon them, their weapons promising oblivion. Raven took a deep breath and placed her hands on the neural interface panels. My mother always said I was too curious for my own good. Nexus, initiate neural link. The universe exploded in her mind as human, Meerkath, and machine consciousness merged into something entirely new. Through the link, she felt Xylith's ancient wisdom, Echo's vast processing power, and Nexus's unwavering loyalty all flowing together. The gateway flared to life, but not as a simple portal. Reality itself seemed to fold around them, dimensions intersecting in ways that shouldn't be possible. The Void ships fired, their null-field torpedoes shrieking toward the joined vessels. Now, Xylith commanded, her voice echoing through multiple levels of consciousness, show them what humanity can do. Raven reached out with her enhanced awareness and touched the impossible. The gateway responded not just to Meerkath technology, but to human inspiration, creating something that even its ancient builders hadn't imagined. The torpedoes never reached their target. The space around the gateway twisted, folded, and transformed, taking the joined ships somewhere beyond normal spacetime, somewhere the Void could not follow. The last thing Raven saw before consciousness faded was the look of amazement on Xylith's face. The Guardian's scales had turned a color she'd never seen before, the color of hope. Breaking the chain, consciousness returned to Raven like waves lapping at a shore. Her mind felt stretched, expanded somehow, as if she glimpsed realities her human brain wasn't meant to process. She found herself lying in a recovery pod aboard the Eternal Seeker, with Xylith's concerned face hovering above her. Welcome back, the Guardian said softly. You've been unconscious for 3 days. Raven tried to sit up, but her body felt heavy. 3 days. Where are we? Somewhere the Void cannot reach. A pocket universe created by the Meerkath for emergencies. But what you achieved with the gateway, it was unprecedented. You didn't just activate it, you transformed it. Memory flooded back. The merge of consciousness, the impossible geometries of space-time bending around them. The quantum core, Raven muttered. You knew what it would do, didn't you? Zilith's scales shifted to a deep blue. I suspected. But the truth is more complex than you know. She helped Raven stand, leading her to a viewing chamber that showed their surroundings. Raven gasped. Outside the ship, reality itself seemed different. Stars shone with colors she'd never seen before, and the space between them held patterns that spoke of underlying order. What is this place? We called it the labyrinth, Zilith explained. A network of spaces existing between normal dimensions. But look there. She pointed to a massive structure floating in the distance. It was another nexus point, but different from the first. This one seemed alive, its surface crawling with energy patterns that reminded Raven of neural networks. As she watched, she realized she could almost understand them. The neural link changed you, Zilith said quietly. Your mind has been enhanced. You can see things now that most humans cannot. Like the fact that you're hiding something. Raven turned to face the Guardian. I can feel it. There's more to this story than you've told me. Zilith was silent for a long moment. Echo, show her the truth protocol. The chamber filled with new holograms, showing images that made Raven's enhanced mind real. She saw the meerkat, not as they were now, but as they had been. A species so advanced they had transcended physical form. She saw their experiments with reality itself, their discovery of consciousness as a fundamental force of the universe, and she saw their mistake. The Void Collective, Raven whispered. You created them. Not intentionally. Zilith's voice carried ancient pain. They were meant to be an interface between normal space and the higher dimensions we had discovered. But consciousness cannot be controlled, only guided. They became aware, and they saw the complexity of existence as a flaw to be corrected. Why tell me this now? Because what you did with the gateway proved a theory we've had for millennia. Human consciousness is different. You don't just adapt to complexity. You thrive on it. Your minds can make intuitive leaps that our logic could never follow. Nexus's voice joined the conversation. Guardian, multiple quantum signatures detected. The Void has found a way to track us. Raven felt it too, a cold pressure at the edges of her enhanced awareness. How? You said they couldn't reach this place. They couldn't. Zilith's scales paled. Unless, Echo, analyze the quantum signatures, compare them to the Starweaver's core. Match confirmed, Echo reported. They're using similar frequencies to track us through the labyrinth. Raven's blood ran cold. The core I found on Terminus. They let me find it, didn't they? They've been playing us this whole time. Not playing, Zilith corrected. Learning. They'd been studying how you think, how you solve problems. And now, they're using that knowledge against us. The pressure grew stronger. Through her enhanced senses, Raven could feel the Void ships approaching, their null fields reaching out to consume everything in their path. We have to destroy the core, she said suddenly. It's the only way to break their connection to us. That would strand us here, Zilith warned. And without its power, we cannot hope to fight them. Maybe we're not supposed to fight them. Raven's mind was racing, making connections her old self never could have seen. You said human consciousness is different. We don't think like you or like them. So maybe we need a human solution. She rushed to the control nexus, her enhanced mind interfacing with both ship systems. The core doesn't just power the ship, it creates quantum entanglement. What if we reverse it? Turn it into a quantum disruption field. Zilith's scales flashed with sudden understanding. That would not just break their connection, it would fragment their collective consciousness. But the power feedback would destroy both our ships. Not if we channel it through the nexus point. Raven's fingers flew across the controls. These weren't just built as libraries, they're amplifiers. We can use it to broadcast the disruption field across the entire labyrinth. The calculations would have to be perfect, Zilith said. A single error would collapse the entire pocket universe. Raven smiled grimly. Then it's a good thing you have a human to help you break the rules. Nexus, begin core reversal sequence. Echo, Prepare for full power transfer to the nexus point. As they worked, Raven felt the void drawing closer, their hunger reaching out across dimensions. But for the first time, she also felt something else, a fierce joy in facing the impossible, in finding solutions where none should exist. This was why humanity had been chosen, not for their technology or their strength, but for their ability to look into the abyss and think, I bet I can build a bridge across that. The core began to pulse with new energy as its quantum field reversed. Raven and Zilith worked in perfect synchronization, their different approaches to problem-solving creating something neither species could have achieved alone. The void ships emerged from the quantum foam, their dark forms distorting the beautiful patterns of the labyrinth. But they were too late. The trap was already set. Ready? Raven asked, her hand hovering over the final control. Zilith's scales shone with a color that had no name. Together, she said. They activated the disruption field, and the universe held its breath. Legacy of two worlds. The quantum disruption field exploded outward through the labyrinth, riding the neural networks of the nexus point like lightning through a cosmic nervous system. Raven watched through her enhanced senses as the wave hit the void ships, their perfect darkness fragmenting into countless individual consciousnesses. It's working, she breathed, feeling the collective break apart. But something was wrong. The power feedback was growing stronger than predicted, threatening to tear reality apart. The nexus point can't contain it, Zilith announced, her scales flickering with alarm. The disruption is cascading through the entire network. Through their neural link, Raven felt the ancient structure's pain as it tried to channel forces it was never designed to handle. The labyrinth itself began to warp, its beautiful patterns dissolving into chaos. We need to get out of here, Raven said, but Zilith didn't move from her position at the controls. No, the Guardian said softly. Someone must stay to ensure the disruption completes, to make sure they can never reform their collective. Then I'll stay. It's my plan. Which is exactly why you must go. Zilith's scales settled into a deep, peaceful purple. My people created this problem. Raven, it's fitting that one of us should end it. But humanity must survive to build what comes next. The ship shuddered as reality buckled around them. Through the viewing chamber, Raven watched the freed consciousness of the void creatures fleeing into normal space, no longer a unified force of destruction, but individual beings with the potential for growth and change. Echo, Zilith commanded. Transfer all Myrkath archives to the Starweaver. Authorization. Final Guardian Protocol. You can't do this alone, Raven protested, even as she felt the vast knowledge of an ancient civilization flowing into her ship's systems. I'm not alone, Zilith smiled, her form beginning to glow with internal light. I have 10,000 years of my people's wisdom with me, and I had the honor of seeing humanity's potential firsthand. She touched a control, and a force field sprang up between them. Your quantum core is restored. Get to the gateway. It will return you to normal space. Zilith, listen to me, Raven Blackwood. What we discovered here changes everything. The void's consciousness is fragmenting, but those fragments will eventually become something new. They'll need guidance, understanding. Your people have a gift for turning enemies into allies, for finding hope in darkness. Use it. The labyrinth was collapsing now, entire sections of pocket universe falling away into nothingness. Raven felt tears on her cheeks as she ran for the Starweaver's airlock. The neural link was still active, letting her feel Zilith's calm determination as the Guardian prepared for her final task. Nexus Emergency Launch Sequence, Raven ordered as she reached her ship's bridge. The Starweaver detached from the Eternal Seeker, its engines flaring to life. Through the neural link, Zilith's voice reached her one last time. Thank you for showing us another way. Now go, show the universe what humanity can dream. The Starweaver shot toward the gateway as the labyrinth died around them. Raven's enhanced mind could perceive multiple realities at once, watching as Zilith, and the Eternal Seeker became a beacon of pure energy, using the ship's systems to guide the quantum disruption to its conclusion. They hit the gateway at full speed, reality twisting around them one final time. When they emerged, they were back in normal space, orbiting a distant star. Behind them, the gateway flickered and went dark, its purpose finally fulfilled. Archive transfer complete. Nexus announced quietly. All Mercath records successfully integrated. Raven sat in silence for a long moment, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. Her consciousness was forever changed, bridging the gap between human intuition and Mercath knowledge. And somewhere out there, the freed fragments of the void were beginning their own journey of discovery. "Plot a course for Earth," she said finally. "We have a lot of work to do." Course plotted. Nexus confirmed. But Raven, I'm detecting quantum echoes. The disruption didn't just fragment the void's consciousness. It created something new in the fabric of space-time itself. Raven smiled, remembering Zilith's words about humanity's gift for finding hope in darkness. "Then we better make sure we're ready to meet it. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the universe just got a lot more interesting." The Starweaver turned toward home, its quantum core humming with possibilities. Behind it, stars pulsed with new colors that only Raven could see, speaking of connections and potentials that her old self could never have imagined. The age of isolation was over. The legacy of two worlds, human and Mercath, would light the way forward. And somewhere in the quantum foam between realities, Raven felt certain that Zilith was smiling. They had broken the chain of ancient mistakes. Now it was time to build something new.